Hey, how's it going, everybody? Sir Da Vinci here with another weekly vendor reset video for the division. As an update, really quick, the last stand glitch, actually, I guess it was also in the Dark Zone too, but anyway, PvP glitch where you could make yourself pretty much invincible and invisible. That has been patched as a hot fix, and I am so glad because I was actually enjoying Last Stand last week until I ran into that glitch, and it was just ruining every match I played because everybody was just abusing it, including teammates, and it just was not fun. So, thankfully, they put out a quick fix for it, and it's all good now, and I just played a match right before this, had some fun. But let's get into the vendor reset video. As always, starting here in the base of operations hub with the exotic weapons here in the special equipment vendor for Phoenix credits. We have the Cassidy here, which has ferocious and destructive this week, which is actually really good for PvE. Those are great talents for PvE, two of the best actually. Unfortunately, you're obviously not going to be getting ferocious in the third slot because boomstick is the guaranteed talent on the Cassidy. If you have the electronics for it, that's good, but if not, otherwise you could roll that away for something else. We have the Pecan here with Self-Preserved and Talented. The Centurion has Adept. The Liberator this week has Vicious and Focused, and also Unforgiving, so there's actually two decent talents. Vicious wouldn't help as much on assault rifles as it would SMGs, which actually, if you really need the critical hit chance, you get it on the assault rifles because they don't have it like SMGs do. But I guess this is an okay rolled one. The base damage is kind of on the low side, but 24% enemy armor damage is, I believe, the max. And this week, I think, is going to be the week that I buy the Historian. 171% headshot damage, and it has Harmful and Competent. I'd be rolling away Competent for either Brutal or Prepared, maybe, for that distance shots, which is actually going to be quite nice. Having Harmful on semi-automatic snipers is very good for causing people to bleed and hitting them from a distance. And since it's semi-automatic, you'll be able to pump a bunch of shots into them with pretty much guaranteed chance at some point to make them bleed. So I very much like having Harmful on my semi-auto snipers. So this one is probably going to be the one I buy. I just got to get some Phoenix credits for it. Alright, and we are now going in the special equipment vendor. We're going to scroll through all of the gear set pieces. Alright, so staying in the same vendor, the special equipment vendor for Phoenix credits in the base of operations hub, we have a prototype performance mod here with 6% turret health. In Last Stand, there's a lot of people who like to run Firecrest with the fire turret, and it actually is quite the tool to use, and it's a really big distraction because if you don't have the fire resistance enough to keep the turret from catching you on fire, you're going to want to take it out, and having that 6% times 4, which is 24% turret health, is going to make sure that the people who are trying to destroy your turret are going to be focused on it longer. That way you can get some free shots in on them while they're obnoxiously annoyed by the turret. Also in the same vendor this week, we have another extended mag here, which is pretty decent. 110.5% magazine size, 2.5% critical hit chance, of 4.5% reload speed. For the reload speed, I would rather it be rate of fire for most weapons, at least for like assault rifles, SMGs, that kind of stuff. But still a pretty decent extended mag if you need it. Alright, now moving over to the special blueprints vendor in the base of operations for Phoenix credits. We have here the ACR blueprint once again, the classic AK-47 blueprint, which is actually a pretty decent pickup. The AK, at least for me in PvE, is actually kind of a decent weapon to use. We got stamina knee pads, firearms, gloves, vertical grip, and the electronics gear mod. Alright, still in the base of operations, we are now at the entrance at the weapons vendor here. We have an AUG here, which is actually pretty decent. 22.5% critical hit chance, 19,000 base damage. It has Swift, Brutal, and Vicious. Swift is the one that I would personally roll away for something like Deadly or Responsive. Brutal, honestly, I would rather, like I said, having Responsive and Deadly are two of probably the best talents to have on your SMGs right now. So that would probably be better in the place of Brutal, but With the AUG is actually quite accurate for an SMG, so having that brutal is not a bad thing. Having vicious is also nice for the extra critical hit chance. You don't necessarily need it, but it's still not bad to have, and swift doesn't really help out all that much, at least not as much as the other two, so I'd probably, like I said, roll that away for either responsive or deadly, and you'll have a decent AUG. Alright, now moving out of the base operations here to the Wolves Den Safe House. We have a tactical SASG 12 here with 323% stagger, 97.4 thousand base damage. It's got trained, capable, and ferocious, so this is definitely going to be a PvE focused tactical SASG. You could either roll away capable or trained depending on your preference. If you have the electronics for trained, it's not bad. And capable, obviously, should have the firearms for it. Whichever one you prefer to roll away, personally, I would suggest rolling it for probably responsive. Using it with Striker, stack up the stacks for Striker is actually quite good with this. In PvE, it'll stack up and make enemies fall quite easily. So not a bad SASG here, and it's for base credits, so not a bad pickup if you have enough for it. Alright, next up here at the Cavern Safe House, we have a prototype stamina mod here with 265 stamina and 2,964 skill power. A nice roll on the stamina, and obviously having the skill power there will increase your effectiveness of whatever skill you're using, preferably the first aid, and obviously the stamina to increase your toughness a bit. Alright, now at Camp Hudson, the hub where you start off the game, and the gear vendor here, we have a prototype electronics mod, which is rolled pretty nicely with 243 electronics, a little on the lower side, but still not bad, and also 3,294 skill power, so definitely the perfect mod for anyone looking to make a skill build. Alright, next up here at the Madison Stand Safe House, we have another prototype stamina mod here with 242 stamina and 3,196 health, which is nicely paired to increase your toughness quite a bit and keep yourself alive a lot longer. Alright, now we are at the Last Call Safe House toward the bottom right corner of the map. We have a pretty decently rolled classic M44 carbine here, which I believe is the bolt action sniper that has like the highest base damage you can find. It's got 169% headshot damage, so that's very good. 124,000 base damage, at least for my firearms. It's got dominant, adept, and cool-headed. So dominant and adept are not very good talents for snipers themselves. You could have like brutal, prepared, elevated, stuff like that, which could be definitely rolled better. But having cool-headed in the third slot, especially with the high electronics roll requirement, is actually very good. And cool-headed on snipers is like perfect. It would sorry, it would be a lot more effective if it was a semi-automatic sniper that you could keep steady, something like the SVD, which has very high stability, to increase that rate of fire that which you get more headshots in, to increase your reduction of all skill cooldowns. But either way, you could roll away dominant or adept, whichever one you choose. They both have the same electronics requirement. Personally, I would suggest probably getting rid of dominant over adept if you have the electronics for adept. And probably either getting prepared or brutal. Personally, I would suggest brutal, because headshots for snipers, unless you're using that one gear set that makes it so your critical hit chance are the preferred, and gets rid of your headshot damage. But if you are not running that, increase that headshot damage as much as possible with snipers, because that's what you're going to be aiming for. Alright, we are now at the Firewall Safe House, and here we have a prototype firearms mod here, which is pretty nicely rolled with 261 firearms and 2,962 health. Alright, starting off our run through the Dark Zone checkpoint vendors here at the East 46 Dark Zone checkpoint. We have an extended mag here with 109% magazine size, 4.5% reload speed, and 4.7% rate of fire. This is like almost a perfectly rolled magazine. Obviously, the increased magazine size could be higher instead of the reload speed. I would personally prefer having that critical hit chance, but either way, if you need one and you have the Dark Zone funds for it, you could grab one here. Alright, next up at the East 40th Street Dark Zone checkpoint, we have a pretty decent Police MK17 here with 170% headshot damage, 60.1 thousand base damage. It's got Adept, Meticulous, and Toxic. Meticulous isn't a bad talent to have. Personally, I would prefer to roll that on like an LMG or something, but seeing as how you got to either get rid of Adept or Meticulous, if you don't have the electronics for them, personally I would suggest getting rid of Adept for probably something like Brutal. And it also has Toxic here in the third slot, which headshots with this weapon have a 15% chance to apply the blind status effect. I personally very much like this. If you're far away or even up close, if you can blind your target, then maybe even like on the heavy guys, those are personally my preference for trying to get them blinded. And then while they're blind and kind of just standing there, you can pump a bunch of shots in with your lightweight M4 or whatever your other primary there is. Alright, we are now at the East 34th Street Dark Zone checkpoint. Here we have another SASG here. It's got 340% stagger, much higher than the last one. 97.7 thousand base damage. It's got determined, destructive, and deadly. This one's actually pretty decently rolled. Obviously, destructive isn't as effective in PvP as it was, due to the fact that armor is no longer an acquirable major attribute on the armor and mods. But you could roll away determined and get yourself something like brutal, which is pretty nice on this guy because it's pretty accurate. You could also get accurate if you would like. Actually, my current SASG that I use does have accurate on it. Makes it a lot easier to hit those shots, especially if you're using striker. That way you're not missing as much. You could also get responsive. That's probably one of the better talents to have, especially on the shotguns due to you wanting to be close. But destructive and deadly are also still pretty good talents to have on it. Deadly will help get in those criticals, especially since each pellet can be a critical. It'll increase your damage by quite a bit. That's actually what I used to have on my shotgun, but I felt as though accurate. I really was going for destructive, but those two talents will probably be better and more effective than deadly. But this one, not a bad pickup if you have the Dark Zone funds for it. Alright, next up here at the very southern Dark Zone checkpoint here, which is 5th Avenue. Here we have a pretty decent reflex sight here with 6.5% critical hit chance, 4% critical hit damage, and 6% headshot damage. It's a very good scope to have for your SMGs. Personally, I would suggest getting a scope that has the primary stat of critical hit damage because of the fact that you can still get about 4% critical hit chance. So it's a drop off of about 2.5% critical hit chance for a gain of over 12% critical hit damage. I believe it can range between 16 and 19%. So those are usually better, but if you do need that slight boost of critical hit chance, this is still not a bad scope to have. Here now at the West 39th Street Dark Zone checkpoint, we have a couple of items I would like to point out to you. First off, we have a prototype stamina mod here with 259 stamina and 3051 skill power. Once again, stacking that stamina for the toughness and the skill power to get your skills a little bit of a boost, especially if you're playing solo with the first aid boost. It's always helpful. And obviously, or sorry, not obviously, but we also here have an Omega rifle suppressor here with 17% headshot damage, 3% critical hit chance, and 2% accuracy. This one's good for assault rifles and snipers. Having a headshot damage is always nice to have, and a 3% critical hit chance will also help get you some more damage out with the increase of criticals. Instead of accuracy, personally, I would suggest having critical hit damage, but either way, still a pretty decent suppressor here. Alright, now moving up to the DZ09 Dark Zone checkpoint here, the East 61st Dark Zone checkpoint. We have the weapon mod vendor here, which has a rugged mini reflex sight with 7.5% critical hit chance, 5.5% headshot damage, and 4% critical hit damage. All three damage stats here, which is perfect. And on the SMGs, this is going to be a great use. Obviously, like I said before, with the other scope that we were talking about, having critical hit damage as a major attribute is going to be more worthwhile than critical hit chance. But if you do need that extra bit of critical hit chance, then this is definitely not a bad one to pick up. Alright, we are now at Park Ave, which is the southernmost Dark Zone checkpoint here in DZ08. Here we have the weapons vendor, which has the 93R, which I have been looking for the longest time. This one is rolled with Expert and Harmful. Harmful is one of the best talents to have on a pistol due to the fact that you don't really use your pistol for its effectiveness of being able to kill somebody. But having Harmful on it, especially on the 93R, which is a burst fire pistol, being able to cause bleed on somebody really quick and then trying to take them out with your primary rather than wasting, say you don't want to run Predator's Mark in order to make people bleed. You can pull out your 93R, someone's running away, make them bleed, catch up to them with your either whatever primaries you're using and take them out. But unfortunately, this one is in the Dark Zone vendors, which requires Dark Zone funds, and almost 333,000 of them to be exact. So I will not be able to buy this one. The reason it's nice to have Harmful right off the bat, though, is due to the fact that then you can roll away Expert, which I believe is a free talent slot. I haven't really tried it on pistols, but you could try and get yourself something like Brutal or anything else that you think the pistol would be very effective at having, and make yourself a pretty nice 93R, which is actually probably one of the best pistols in the game right now for its effectiveness. Unfortunately for us console guys, though, at least for me, I have a very hard time trying to control this thing at firing it rapidly, and I cannot keep the recoil down. But either way, anyone who's got the funds for it and is looking for a Harmful pistol, this is a good one to get. Can I help you, sir? Attempting to make a video if you can hear me. Appreciate it if you leave me alone, man. much of a mistake was that, bud? Alright, after a little encounter there, we are now at the DZ08 safe room here at the Dark Zone Special Vendor, which has all the gear set pieces, which I will scroll through now. Alright, also in the DZ08 safe room at the Dark Zone Gear Vendor, we have a Spec Ops mask here, which has refreshed, which is a very good talent to have if you're running a high-end build. It's got 1268 firearms, which is very nicely rolled. All healing is improved by 30% when in the last health segment, which is what refreshed is. It's got 10% exotic damage resilience and 14% disorient resistance. And also, if we go down here, we have a Spec Ops holster, which is pretty nicely rolled. It's got 1136 firearms, which is quite low, which you could roll to get higher. 1236 stamina is nice, and 1256 electronics. Nimble right now is a very good talent, especially with the high-end build, but currently it is known that it's going to be getting patched. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to be changing it to, but it is quite overpowered right now. Currently, you could heal yourself to full at any moment just by running between cover multiple times without having to use your first aid or med kits. It also has a major attribute of 4% critical hit chance, so you could probably keep that in that slot. Personally, I would suggest having reload speed there, but the firearms are quite low on this, so I would personally suggest rolling that to make them higher. Alright, now up here at the DZ09 safe room, we are at the special vendor here with all the gear set pieces. I will scroll through now. Alright, and last up here at the DZ06 safe room, we are here at the special vendor with all the gear set pieces, which I will scroll through now. Alright guys, well that will do it for this week's vendor reset video for the Division. Been really enjoying the game a lot lately. Like, I've been going through my games list on Xbox and just haven't found any drive to play anything other than this right now. Like I said before in the beginning of the video, Last Stand was kind of ruined, and obviously the Dark Zone, but I don't really touch that much. But Last Stand was kind of ruined by the fact that glitch where people could be pretty much invincible and invisible, and it seemed like people were shooting you through walls and stuff like that. It was just made the game so impossible to play. Thankfully, Massive went and patched it really quick. It was only like 2 or 3 days, I think, between the time where I noticed people doing it and then when it got patched. So I'm glad to be able to go back and play that, because right before I did this, I had a really close match. That was, even though I lost, it was still a fun match. And also, like, survival, never going to give up on that. Like, that is, I never get bored of that, never get sick of that. But either way, thank you guys for watching. Obviously, look forward to more videos in the future. Like I said, obviously in previous videos, I know I do have a lot of stuff to upload. I just have not found the time. There's a lot going on right now. I gotta help with my brother. He's got his girlfriend moving down. I gotta help clean up a room that she's gonna stay in, stuff like that. And so yeah, so definitely some pretty busy times, and obviously it's just kind of hard with a full-time job to find the time to play the games, enjoy them, record them, and upload them, and edit and all that kind of stuff. So I really hope you guys stick around. I know I've been slow on the videos, I haven't been uploading a lot, but it's really just been these weekly videos right now. But if you guys stick around, I promise there will be a lot of fun stuff coming in the future. So once again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.